What's up, everybody? The Myles B Show Wednesday pregame edition, Colts preview, or whatever you want to say, maybe some shit talking. Got one of my best friends hanging out with me for the show today. This dude and I have been through all of the shit together. He worked for NASCAR at the track here. Man, I don't remember all the different racing teams he worked for, but other racing outlets. He's a marketing and social media guru. And unfortunately, he's a dirty Steelers fan. Madden receiver extraordinaire, CV86 Corey Vaissiere. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. What's the good word up in Indy?
Man, I don't even know what the good word is around here these days. It's been so crazy with the team here lately. What's the good word? Wait, where are you now?
Charlotte.
Back in Charlotte.
Yeah, as you said, the home of NASCAR, right? But living the dream life in the southern states.
Southern states, yes. So wait, you were in Florida for a little bit, right?
I was. Yep. So, because that's where I came from when I came to meet you.
Right.
When I loaded up,
recently,
packed everything back in my truck.
After
Yeah.
You moved,
No.
You went to Florida for a while. You were in Carolina, Florida, then back to Carolina, basically?
Yep.
What took you back?
So obviously was working with IMSA, so the sports car organization down in Florida for a year, managing PR and that. So ended up bouncing back to Charlotte, a couple of job opportunities there. And then of course, Emily, she was still in Charlotte. So wanted to get back. It's not nearly as hot, which I don't mind the heat, but you know, getting little seasons, a little change. Right now we're obviously Thanksgiving, the holiday time. It's great. We got fall weather. I can see out looking at the mountains right now, and got some wonderful fall weather going on. So it's nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful out here in Indy too. It's been a crazy about 6 or 7 days of weather here. We went from like 70 degrees, and 2 days later we had 4 inches of snow. And then for about 3 or 4 days, it was in the 20s and 30s. Today it is like 65. Mother Nature has lost her damn mind.
That's for sure. It's been real cold here. We got cold early this season, so we're I think should get up to 66 today. We're about in the same boat. So
yeah,
this is one of
so
those.
We got North Carolina weather, Indy people. That's great.
Yeah, there you go.
So we've been friends for like what, about 11 or 12 years now, man.
I don't want to age us. Let's not do that.
We're
too old for this.
You look way better than I do, man. I look old. You look the exact fucking same as when I met you 11 years ago, dude. Like you're the ageless wonder.
It's the southern salt breeze. It's that salt air.
That must be it. Well, I'm the one salty now because you look young and I look old. So we met. It's kind of crazy that we became like best friends the way we did, because we met through like a mutual friend just randomly right after you had moved to Indy. Do you remember the first night?
It wasn't the poker night.
No. We went with a mutual friend the first time we hung out.
Yeah. No, okay.
It was a B-dubs.
Yep.
For some nasty ass, flat, gross, hard wings. Unless B-dubs wants to sponsor
Saturday
me,
night. There was college football on.
Yep.
It was a Saturday night, because then that next morning you informed me that I couldn't purchase adult beverages anywhere because
on Sunday. Yep. That was before they changed
Sunday.
the law.
And I had to find you informed me that I could go to, what was it, Rock Bottom? Yeah, we could go to Rock Bottom and I could get like a growler. So
yep. Yeah, that became
Florida,
tradition.
I mean, it's
too,
the Wild
Sunday
West
growlers.
in Florida. You could get whatever you want. I mean,
well, you
like
can here now
5 a.m.
on Sundays too, but back then they weren't allowing any liquor sales unless you had a carryout license at a bar, and then it could only be growlers at that point. So yeah, super interesting. What's your what's the first memory? And we had so many. What's the first memory that comes to mind? How the hell we didn't end up in jail, I don't know. But give us a story. We're past the statutes of limitations now for that time.
For
period.
most of them,
So,
yeah.
For most of them, yeah. So give us the skinny.
Oh man, I think the more creative nights that come to mind were all the Battle of the Bands. When you were emceeing the Battle of the Bands nights, and I would come and judge. You know, being a performer musical theater major in college and having all that background in music and music theory, I guess you felt that I was worthy enough to come and judge
Either
some
that or I was
hard
just
rock.
desperate for a third judge. Who knows?
Probably. But I like to pretend that you valued my opinion and my knowledge of music and musicality enough to invite me to come judge some of these events. So those were probably some of the better nights that we had, especially afterwards. Because once everything shut down, we could sit there and BS and carry on and drink ourselves stupid and then try to find somebody to drive us home.
Or stumble, depending on how far. Because I had that apartment there just north of the Strip in Broad Ripple. There were many stumbling nights from Peppers, that's for sure.
That's our one PSA for the show, kids. Don't drink and drive.
Amen.
Always put yourself in position you can stumble home.
You know what, though? Uber didn't exist back then either. Like, it was either
True.
Stumble home, pay somebody, wait 2 hours for a cab, or take a risk. And obviously, you and I were always smart. We never really took the risk, but we had buddies that did. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking
or you could go for a swim in the river.
Yeah. Oh, Pat. That's a whole different story for a whole different time, for sure. Speaking of almost getting arrested, one of my favorite memories was, I thought this was way more serious than it was. Later, we came to find out it wasn't as big of a deal as you and I thought it was in our early to mid 20s. But I got a warrant notice, and it looked like it was for my arrest. It was like on like $200 I owed the state of Indiana for taxes. And I remember, like, CV and I, we weren't roommates, but we might as well have been. Like, either I was at his place or he was at mine 90% of the time, totally platonically. We're not going. We didn't do anything like that. But anyway, so I got this letter and he wasn't there, and I called him. I was freaking the F out, man. Like, I thought I was getting arrested. And so, he comes and gets me, loans me $200 because I was a broke ass musician at the time. And we go down to like the courthouse, but we couldn't find where we were supposed to go either. So we went to like 2 different places. Long story short, or short story long, after he's holding my belt, my wallet, my phone, like my whole life, just in case like I'm coming out in handcuffs. I gave him everything. I was prepared, man. And what it ended up being was I just had to pay the $200, and it wasn't even a warrant for arrest. It was a warrant for garnishment of wages, which I didn't even know existed until like recently. What was that day like for you, man?
That was, I think, one of the first times, because obviously I came up there for grad school to go to IU, and my PR master's was on the IPUI campus. So I had probably been to the campus once or twice before that, but had never really been downtown Indy, right? So because I was living up near you, I was living Kessler Keystone area, and we went down, and I just remember not knowing where to go. You trying to describe all the different directions of the streets, and you're like, okay, we got to go down this one, but this is a one-way street, so we got to circle back, we got to go this way, and we ended up at the wrong courthouse the first time, and we're like, oh no, and we had like 20 more minutes. So then you're like, okay, well, we got to go here. This is like the days before real like iPhones were really a thing.
We were using like MapQuest printouts.
We were trying to figure out where the maps were, and we're like, okay, we can go over here, and I can do a loop around. And I remember dropping you off, like pulling right up in front, and like letting you jump out. And I take off to go find a parking garage and then swing back around and just kind of like nosing my way. It's like, okay, where did I go? Where did I drop him? How did I get back?
It took us a while to find your truck after, too.
I remember, yeah, because I turned myself around. I walked back through a different building because we had to get through a building to get to like where they were at. So we came out the wrong side and we had no idea where we were. So that was probably one of the days it's like, okay, frantic, let's get here, let's get there. And then it was like, all right, now we got to go find a bar. We got to go.
Yeah, immediately. And it was like 1 PM, and we gave no fucks at that point. And then there was the time you almost killed me.
Oh, man, knew this one would come up.
Yeah, how would it not?
I didn't almost kill you. You did.
You almost killed me. You almost killed me. Like twice in the same like 5-minute stretch. You almost killed me.
Well, the interstates around Indy are not good. They're just, I'm going to blame it on the road and how the road is structured, and not the fact that I passed two vehicles and pulled in very quickly to take the exit to go down towards Greenwood. I don't even remember what we were going for.
Probably going to my parents or something. If we were on the south side, that's usually why we were down there. Was going to my parents or whatever. But yeah, man, like you were like Speedy Gonzalez, race car driver over there.
All those NASCAR skills come back out. All those days.
But it was on like 4 inches of snow and ice. And you didn't have weight in the back of the truck yet either, because it was like the first snow or ice of the year, or your first one, and you didn't know you needed to put weight in the back of it. So for some reason, you had an empty
No, I
truck.
felt like I actually thought that it would be heavy enough, because that truck was a 3/4 ton.
It was a beast.
It was 3/4 ton truck with a 1/2 ton body on it, so it had more weight. It just a little bit too fast. Come on, we were reckless back then.
We just a little bit, and I was already 27, so I was proud. I think I was 28 or 29 at the time. I was proud that I had made it past the musician 27 death age. And here I was like a year and a half later. I'm like, fuck, I made it past this, and this is how it ends, with this asshole driving like a NASCAR driver on 3 inches of snow and ice. But here we are. We made it. We are alive. So obviously, we're going to get to the Colts here in a second, and then the Colts-Steelers matchup on Monday night as well. But before we do, I do have a little surprise for Corey. I can't have him on the show without embarrassing the living shit out of him. And I think he already knows what's coming. So I've got 2 amazing pictures of Corey from our heyday. The first one, I can't really say a lot about, but I'm going to throw it up on the screen here in just 1 second. We were at a Goodwill, and Corey found one of the most interesting things I've ever seen at Goodwill. I tried to get him to try it on. He wouldn't, because he's a little biggity bitch. But we did get a good pose. And
you know what? Man.
Look at that face. Look
cool. How not cool, man. Not cool.
I take it all back. You don't look the exact same as you did 11 years ago. You look fucking old, man. No, just kidding. You look great. But seriously, look at that face. Look at that wedding dress, man.
I want to say that I was there. This was close, because I moved in July, and obviously I'm wearing a coat. So I think this was close to Halloween. And I want to say that when we were there to look for Halloween costumes, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can pick up another winter coat or something. And I found that.
Well, in all fairness, you thought 70 degrees was cold back then, so it could have been the middle of July.
I think that now too. That hasn't changed. What do you think I left Indy for? I got to pack up, head back, go to Florida every so often so I can stay warm. I mean, that's the best part about growing up in the South. When you grow up in the South, I can tell you stories of like enjoying the pool on Christmas, right? So it's why everybody vacations down there. I mean, you're crazy if you live there, because, I mean, I'm crazy, because Floridians is nuts. I mean, Florida, man,
you couldn't be my friend if you weren't.
It's true. I got to put up with you somehow.
No shit. All right,
that's a good one.
Here's the best one though. This is the infamous picture that really, honestly, if I were to be like, hey, describe my relationship with Corey Vaissiere in one picture, no words needed. So one of the big things that you and I did, up until you moved, and then even when you came back to visit or whatnot, is we Maddened. And when we Maddened, dude, like 24, 48 straight hours. But we didn't play each other. We created these superstar, like 99 overall, I was a quarterback, you were a receiver, players. And then we just shit stomped everybody. I don't know how we didn't get bored of it, but we didn't. So this was one of those particular all-nighters. We won't talk about any substances that were used to help us get there, but Corey was nearing the end for himself. and I look over and he's still playing Madden, laying on the couch. This picture is worth a million words, man. Like you were awake. You were wide awake. We still didn't go to sleep. I was awake,
just exhausted.
Look at that, like, original iPhone, or maybe an iPhone 3G next to you, too. That is insane.
This dates everything. This just shows the world of age, right?
Yeah.
Like where you can
Wired
stay and
PlayStation
you're in like
controller.
weird positions and you're playing video games. We were up all night. I mean, the release the Kraken days
Ugh.
before Seattle Kraken became
Right.
a
They stole our
franchise.
name.
Right? I mean, we should have patented it back then. Should have
We should
trademarked
have.
it.
We should have.
But
Neither one
playing
of
those,
us
I
really
mean,
had much money
those were
though. So
great, and it's nice to look back on some of these and remember how ridiculous and fun life can be, and not take things too seriously, right?
yeah,
I think we, especially as we get older and start to get families and let
everything
life
changes.
kind of knock us down a bit. Like those were some days that you get to uh, cut loose, have fun, be safe about it. But I mean, there's nothing better than playing Madden until 3 a.m. and you're just exhausted and
The sun was up
one
in
more
that
game,
picture,
one more
Corey. It
game. We
wasn't
can do it.
3
We can
a.m.
keep
It
going.
was like
We can
7.
keep going. Let's do it. One more game.
Yeah.
I don't have to be, especially on a Friday night after one of my classes or working as a grad assistant, coming back from the office and sitting there and be like, all right, let's go. Let's go.
Well,
Let's
and
play.
I was doing music full time, either DJing or playing shows with one of the bands. So like we had no responsibilities during the day whatsoever. So we definitely burned the candle at both ends consistently. But you can do that when you're in your 20s. Although I do feel like now that I am 40, I am literally paying for a lot of those days. You're not too far behind though. Big
Not too far
4S coming
behind.
soon. Coming soon to a Corey near you.
Ugh.
Let's move on. Let's talk about some football because that's what you came on. I mean, obviously came on, to chat with your best friend, but
right.
we came to talk football. Before we get into the game, though, I think this is cool because most of my guests that I have on are either Colts fans or associated or like we had Gary Brackett on. Speaking of which, real quick here, if you haven't checked it out yet, Gary Brackett was on the show last Wednesday. Search me up on YouTube, search me up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, The Myles B Show. Make sure you check out that podcast. It was a great interview. Gary was awesome. I
It's
really
an
enjoyed
awesome
it.
interview. I
Thanks,
highly
man.
recommend it. It was a lot of fun to listen to his stories and get his background and kind of where he is now. That's really cool. It was really cool stuff.
Yeah, he had some good ones, but I digress. So you
And then
are
you get me.
yeah, then I get you. You're the
This
follow-up.
is a downgrade. This is a
Uh
severe downgrade.
well, you might not have as great of a beard as Gary had, but you're an equally pertinent guest or whatever shit I can fill and blow smoke up your ass here. But you're a Steelers fan. You're a dirty fucking Steelers fan. But as an outsider, I don't usually have outside opinions on this show, so this is going to be kind of cool, especially with everything that's gone on with this organization. I mean, just in the past month, but really the past couple years, to be honest with you. I mean, I've been calling for Frank's head for 2 years, but the way it went down even blew my mind. So I want to get a few different thoughts from you here. First and foremost, from an outsider, what is the whole like transition period from benching Matt Ryan to firing the offensive coordinator who wasn't even calling the plays to firing Frank and then hiring Jeff Saturday? What does that look like to someone who, I guess I can't say you're not a fan of the Colts because, you rooted for them as an interest of a city that you lived in, but obviously you're a Steelers fan.
No, I mean, I figured we talk about the Colts first, right? So I'll rep I'll rep my Colts somewhat fandom. I think when you live in a city, you kind of become a fan, especially because you become friends with people who are fans. So you become fans.
Right.
And so because of that, I can kind of keep up with the team and watch it. And as an outsider, it's an interesting perspective, right? It looks very haphazard as you're watching it. Like I'm watching all this and I'm watching the benchings, and that's kind of fine because the players, you never really know what's going on in the locker room and how the locker room stuff. I mean, obviously as a Steelers fan, you hear a lot about locker room culture, and we've gone through several iterations with players. You got AB, Le'Veon Bell. I mean,
You've had some crazy times there too.
Like you're used to kind of this strange player dynamic with head office, and I think that's kind of all sports really. So that wasn't too shocking. And really the offensive coordinator going, it wasn't too shocking either.
Okay.
I mean, knowing that he's not really calling the plays, but just like sometimes you got to shake things up, right? There's something you can do, and you're usually not going to get. Yeah, somebody's got to go. You got to shake things up. We can get to that in a little bit on my end, but the Jeff Saturday, like firing and then bringing in Jeff, it's wild, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's obviously created tons of media fodder, creating divisions across both sides. People are agreeing with it, not agreeing with it. I I sit somewhere in the middle on this,
Okay.
right?
Why?
So I there's a level of like I've listened to like Bill Cowher and some of the other former coaches talk about how this is a disgrace to the
Don't get
profession.
me started on Bill Cowher because I know he's your homie. I was going to keep my gloves
Uh,
on for that one.
Um, yeah,
He was a
Cowher's all right for
fucking
me.
idiot for that.
Anyway, go ahead.
He it's I get where he's coming from, right? Like I get the sentiment of people working their way and paying their dues and giving people opportunities. I mean, we're seeing that with the Rooney Rule and Brian Flores and some of these
Sure.
coaches and so you have that, but then
But he's also an interim coach. The Rooney Rule doesn't apply.
correct. No, absolutely. And and with this, I was okay with it from a organizational perspective because you've got a team of players there. You've got a group of assistant coaches who are there and ready. You needed emotion. You needed something to rally the troops, and you also needed something to rally the fan base. That we can't. I think there's a lot to be said about keeping organizations and having the internal organizations and the players active. But I think that what Irsay was trying to do is really fire up the fan base, bringing in an old name, old face, somebody who the city loves and the city can rally around it. And there's something to be said for having fans support you and fans be in that stadium and support the team because they think that because they're excited about it. It's just about being excited, right? So from that perspective, I think it was great. I mean, in a PR move, right? It's like you're bringing in somebody who the fans love, the fans know he's going to come in with passion. He's going to speak to the fan voice. The fans have been upset at how the team has performed thus far, to say it lightly. So I'm actually okay with it in the long run. But from an outsider, it seems very haphazard. It seems very uncalculated from a non-sports perspective.
Absolutely. And I liked the hire. I liked the hire from moment one because, in my opinion, it's somebody who could come in and coach 8 games. And if he does well, he could be a candidate. But realistically, he's not there to rock the boat for the search for the next guy, right? But I mean, look, if he comes out and he goes 5-3, 6-2 during that period, then you have to at least consider him when you're in the interview. But they're going to go full out. But the biggest problem with the Colts on the field is what? The offensive line. So why not bring someone in and he's obviously made an impact. Look, the Philly game, not as good as the Vegas game, and I get it, Vegas, Philly, whatever. I think Philly's overrated, but we're not going to go down that road right now. But still, even though they took a little step back for the Philly game, it was mostly the rookie on the left tackle that made the majority of the mistakes and the penalties and things. Your big dogs, your Braden Smiths, your Ryan Kellys, your Quentin Nelsons, they are starting to play back up to where they belong. Nowhere near it yet, but they're getting there, right? I really like the hire. I like the emotion. Jeff obviously takes no BS from anybody. I love that the first time he came under fire, he basically said, look, STFU, I know how to lead men. I played football for 14 years. I won Super Bowls. I know how to lead men. And I do believe that he has come in and he has led men. I don't doubt that. So I'm going to skip a couple of the points and come back to him here in a second. But because of what I just said, do you think this team is in a place where it should continue to try to compete since they're technically still in the thick of the wild card race and only basically a game and a half out of the division? Or should they tank and go get a quarterback for the future?
I'm always for the effort. I mean, I was there in Indy through the suck for luck year and that process, and I get it. But as somebody who's competed, I've worked in sports almost my entire career, still have a hand in it at some level. I don't like it. I think you compete. I think you should give an honest effort to compete and do well every game, and not play that strategy. I think if the strategy ends up where it is, if you want a player, if you want somebody, you trade, go get them, use your capital, use what you can. But I think in terms of the performance, I like the as any competitor will say, you go compete, go win.
Fair enough. I have mixed emotions on it because for the last, well, since Andrew Luck retired, basically we've been in this like Valhalla of quarterbacks. It almost feels like we're fucking Cleveland or something like that. Like 11 quarterbacks. It's just, and I mean, Frank Reich, the only thing that I give to his credit, even though I believe that he was a main part of the problem for several years here, is he never had the same quarterback 2 years in a row, realistically. So there was nothing to build on, but then again, he's the quarterback whisperer, so he shouldn't need that, right? So anyway, here's a real interesting question for you, an outsider's opinion on two different guys. I'm going to stack them just for the sake of time. Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard.
I feel like as an outsider, I don't really have a ton of opinion on it, truthfully.
Even Jim Irsay, as loud as he's been with the whole thing with Daniel Snyder, and then he comes in and basically takes over the team out from under Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and starts making decisions. I mean, I've heard a lot of opinions, and here in Indy, we for the most part, we love Jim. Now, I also think he's a part of the problem for other reasons, but
he's
loves Jim.
Yeah, I mean, he's no Jerry Jones, right? He's not in there really mucking things up consistently
yet.
I mean, I feel like he has been outspoken, and I appreciate that. I don't think that it's nationally and from the outside. I don't really think that it matters as much to us as it would to the city, right? I think the city is really kind of where the focus is, and I haven't seen too much.
Fair enough.
Nationally from that perspective, and I think that he's doing what he feels is best. And in the end, it's his money, so
fair enough.
Do what he wants,
his team
guess.
At the end of the day.
He can do what he wants. I think that there's a level of, I like it when the owner is hands off a bit, but it's going to go one of two ways, right? It's either going to work and he's going to look great doing it, and it'll right the ship and get things back in the right track, or hopefully you don't end up with the Jerry Jones Dallas situation and just flounders for a long time until he can figure it out. But I don't think that'll happen. I think the city loves it too much. I think he's smart enough to know that making this kind of short-term move might just be right for the emotions, and changing he's an emotional guy. He plays on emotions. We've seen that consistently for years. So I think sometimes you just got to play with the emotion and then move on.
Well, I hope you're right. I mean, honestly, I've agreed with the decisions he's made. I just don't know if it's necessarily been his place to make them based on, the general processes within the NFL. All right, so we need to get to the meat and bones here. Monday Night Football, since I don't want to get muted.
Get rid of this thing.
Yeah, since I don't want to get muted, we're just going to go bum, 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 ba-da, ba-da. I can't actually use the track, and you just got a lot uglier. Bum, 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 ba-da, ba-da, ba. Anyway, Monday Night Football, Steelers, Colts. First of all, could there be a worse fucking matchup for the rest of the country on primetime Monday Night Football? Two super shit teams. Am I right? I mean, look, I love my Colts. You love your Steelers, but it's bad.
It is terrible, right? This is probably one of the worst times I've seen a matchup. Like, I don't know if I've seen a matchup this bad between.
Not on Monday night. It's usually on Thursdays.
On a Monday night. But I mean, this is usually a Thursday night game, and unfortunately, it's like.
How the hell did this not get flexed?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe they don't flex Monday night games because the city has to prepare for it and everything. But like, I feel like I mean, even at the beginning of the season, neither team was like a standout as good or bad. Who
Right.
on the schedule went and goes, oh, Pittsburgh Indy, middle of the season, this could have implications. Let's put it on Monday night.
Yeah, well, and honestly, because of I mean, Pittsburgh's going to have to get a Monday, like that they're going to have to get a Monday night just because of the fan base and the way NFL likes
Sure.
to structure certain like premium teams on certain nights. So we were going to get one. I think if you're going to do it, knowing that Pittsburgh was going to be off this year, this was probably the weekend to do it, unfortunately, because people are really going to be focused on Thanksgiving. There's a lot. They put a lot of effort. NFL puts a lot of marketing effort into the Thanksgiving games
True.
themselves, and then you're kind of buried. I mean, this is almost like a buried game, right? Because we've got college football, the big rivalry weeks for a lot of the teams. I know my Seminoles will play the Gators on Friday night
That's a big one.
for the first time. So I think that this is almost like a punt to me. People are going to come back off the holidays.
So you think it was an intentional, like, hey, this is a great opportunity to put a couple shitty teams on Monday night and not really worry about ratings for 1 week? You think this was just a discard?
Yeah.
What
I think
happens if
that,
both teams had been really good then?
I mean, it would have been great. I think the NFL is always looking at the positive, or at least I would hope that they would. But I mean, I liked the matchup at the start of the season, seeing it on Monday. I thought it was going to be good. I thought it was going to be interesting. I think both teams came into the season with some questions at offense, but not on defense, right? And I think that that's the surprise.
Is it going to be like a 2-0 game?
I mean, it's
Well, what do you think the main storylines are here for the game? Like, what are we watching from a Pittsburgh Steelers fan?
so I think what we want. I mean, from what I've seen, right, is we want to see what we saw build from last week at Cincinnati. So Matt Canada, I won't even go in on record saying that I like him, because I don't. I think that there's lots of talk from Tomlin right now about we just need to perform, we just need to be consistency, that kind of thing. That's true, but the tape doesn't echo a lot of what he's saying, right? I think he knows that, and he's a sly guy. He's not you don't go 15 consecutive winning seasons and not be a good coach and not know how to play the game beyond the game, the media, the conversations, the internals. And I think he's really good at that. But from a Steelers perspective, we need to see the offense continue to perform. So I have tons of stats, we can get into them, but the offense is really the issue. We know that when TJ Watt's on the field, the defense is a different beast.
He's a beast.
We saw that against Cincinnati.
He's an absolute beast.
They gave up stuff there at the end, but I think a lot of that was because the offense kept them on the field. The offense couldn't get going, which is just natural. Pittsburgh, at the old days for Pittsburgh, if you scored more than 20 points, Pittsburgh was going to win that game because the defense was going to shut you down.
Right.
But in the high-flying offenses of today, it's just not realistic to really hold people to that and keep scoring. So the offense is the biggest struggle. So that's what I want to see, the biggest improvement, especially with the longer week. A little bit of an opportunity. We're off the bye week now. We came into this game, looked a little bit better. But it's a struggle. And I think, and to me, Matt Canada is the root of the cause of this.
Yeah. Do you think Tomlin's time is coming to an end in Pittsburgh? I mean, look, he's been awesome. And like you said, 15 consecutive winning seasons. But this is a really long time for one coach to be in one spot. Even with the amount of success he's had in the NFL, like, it just doesn't happen.
No.
What's
sure.
the timeline left on him?
I think the timeline is starting to wind down. I think he's starting to wind it down himself. I mean, as we know with the Rooney family and with Steelers, they're going to let him take his own exit. They're not really going to force him out. They're going to they'll encourage it maybe, but they're going to ride with him until the end. I mean, we saw Cowher the same thing, that there were some struggle seasons there at the end, but they weren't going to force him out. You win a Super Bowl with the organization, you get to keep your seat until you're done. So I think he's starting to wind down. I was actually, when I heard that Flores was hired and brought on in like kind of a minor role, that perked my ears up a bit, thinking that might be the next move. They like to promote within. They don't like to go outside. They like defensive-minded coaches. Bring it, and he's still pretty young, so you bring him onto the staff, get him to learn everything, sit behind Tomlin in a very not visible role. And I liked him in Miami. I thought he did a great job.
I did too.
I think he's a very similar coach in the sense that he's a players guy.
Yeah.
He's players first, he'll support the organization, supports the players, very positive, kind of a positive mindset coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a potential like 2 or 3 years from now, but I feel like 2 or 3 years we're going to start to see that. I mean, the Steelers fan base, they're not the most rational people, right?
No.
I mean, people from Pittsburgh aren't.
Most fan bases aren't, but Pittsburgh is up there.
It's like they've been calling for his head for years, and I get the criticism, the playoff criticism for sure, but you don't go winning 15 consecutive seasons and not be a really good coach. And I think there's some level of irrationality there that is unwarranted. I think he's a great coach, but
does he coach somewhere else, or does he retire after Pittsburgh?
I think he retires.
I mean, he's still relatively young. He's in his 50s at this point. He could still have another 15, 20 years on the sidelines if he wanted it.
I think he could. I would love to see him in an analyst role too.
I'd love to see him as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts next year. I'm not going to lie to you, him or Flores, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I think that's the crazy part about Pittsburgh fan base, right? They want him fired because they're like, get rid of you. You haven't done what we expected.
But they don't want him to date other people.
Right? Yeah. But it's like, well, but every other team would love him at some capacity.
There's probably 20 teams in the NFL that would hire him over whoever they have in the seat right now today.
Yep. Oh yeah. I 100% agree with that. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that this is a challenge year. I think that if he can adjust, I mean, hell, if we win out, right? If you win out, you keep that streak alive, essentially. And it's a tough call because we got Baltimore twice, you guys this weekend. So it's going to be a tough call, but I think if he can right the ship in any way, shape, or form here at the end of the season, I think it bodes well for next year with not really being a problem. But a couple of years of this, and they'll be calling for him the same way they were for Cowher.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to final predictions and kind of wrap up the show, since you brought Cowher back up, I'm going to have to go right back down that road. So, first of all, he was very blunt about how he felt about the Jeff Saturday hiring, which I think he's a moron for opening his mouth in that form, especially since at one point he was a 34-year-old dude with very little experience that got the shot to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most storied franchises in the NFL. So he wasn't too far off of Jeff and his experience. But you want to know the thing that really pissed me off and made me lose respect for him was after the Colts beat Oakland and halfway through the game against Philadelphia when they're up 13-3, he completely changed his tune and sucked at the teat of Jeff Saturday. And that like, I hated what he said before, but it was his opinion and I respect that. Mm-hmm. I lost all respect for him when he basically welched on it. Like either someone in the studio told him, hey, reel it back in and get back on the good graces, or he legitimately flip-flopped. Either way, lost complete respect for him in that. What was your feeling? Because I know Cowher's your dude, right? That's like Tony Dungy to Colts fans.
Yeah. Well, and Tony Dungy's a guy from me too, because he gave Tomlin his shot. Right?
Yeah, that's right. He did.
Tony Dungy coached under Chuck Noll as well. So it's the Noll tree. I mean, there's Pittsburgh ties everywhere, right?
For a couple years too. Am I wrong there?
He was.
Yeah, I thought he was a safety, right? For Pittsburgh at one point, or a cornerback? He was a DB of some sort. Go on anyway, Cowher.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that that's the thing that irritates me the most. I mean, obviously you're gonna cower to to whatever the media says, right? They're gonna or your kind of people that are pushing you in the right direction, producers and that. I agree with you that if you're gonna come down that harshly and be that passionate, and that's fine. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of effort there. He said what he said. I get it, that original piece, but to sort of back off it, one I
And
think was
he did it without, like, he did it like it was just normal. Like he had been on
no,
the ship and on the bandwagon the whole time. That, I
no.
think that even pissed me off more, is like,
It's
he didn't come out
yeah,
and say, "Look guys, I was wrong. Jeff Saturday is maybe the man." He
yeah,
completely ignored his previous statements and welched.
yeah, no, and I don't agree with, because I think everyone with eyes, right, knew that anybody that's been around sports a long time and has eyes to watch the game knows that when you make a coaching change like that, no matter who it is, coming in, new lifeblood, people are going to be excited. I actually expected the Colts to come out. I expected them to win that first game. I actually picked them to win last week as well,
And they almost did.
and they almost did, and they should have, truthfully.
They should have. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I expect them to come out because I expect them to play with passion. They're going to rally around their new guy. He's going to go in and do what Tomlin does in Pittsburgh and get that locker room behind him. And he's smart enough to say, "Hey, I don't know everything, and I'm going to make bad decisions. Just like you're going to make bad decisions, you're going to make bad plays on the field. We're all going to make bad plays. We're all going to make bad decisions. Let's all go in the same direction together and get it right." So I agree with you. I think that it's a very, very poor look. I mean, we've seen people do it before, but I didn't agree with it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So before we wrap up, man, Monday Night Football, Colts Steelers. Who you got, big boy? And what's the score?
You know, this is tough, right? Because like the all-time series, Pittsburgh's winning. It's like 26-6. Like the last game we got you guys in 2000, like 28-24. The Tomlin is 7-1 against the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
He's 3-0 against Indy in Indy. But records are meant to be broken. Streaks are meant to end, unfortunately. Especially this year, the way anybody's playing.
Right.
I'd love to say, like, I guess I hope everybody has fun, right? Or like just go out and have a good time, guys. Like,
You are getting
don't
old.
get hurt. Everybody have fun. No, I think that I mean I actually think Pittsburgh will win the game,
Okay.
only because TJ Watt is back and how well the defense played, and I think that they were embarrassed last weekend against Cincinnati. They had that game and they just let it slip away, and I think the defense comes out re-energized. I think Alex Highsmith has a great game. I mean, he's a sack leader this season. Cam Hayward, I think the leaders on that team come out and say, this is it. Because if Pittsburgh doesn't win this game, then the season is effectively over. Right. Well, I mean, we only have 2%
I mean, I
chance
think
to
you
make the
could say that
playoffs
for
as it
either
is.
team at this point. The winner is
Yeah.
basically relegated, and the winner basically still has a shot. The loser is pretty much relegated to the off season at that point. I mean, it's still mathematically possible for either team, but it's improbable at that point.
I think the win streak keeps Pittsburgh's momentum. I think people want Tomlin to continue having that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go. I feel like I originally had 28-24. That's what I had.
Points for that game.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the start of the year I went and wrote everything down, but I think it's going to be something like 17-14 or some ridiculous low scoring affair.
I got 13-10 Colts. So I say, why not have a friendly bet, right? You have Colts gear as a Steelers fan. I have a Steelers jersey as a Colts fan that I got because of you, and the fact that Troy Polamalu was a bad mother. So, loser wears the winner's shirt and takes a picture and makes it their profile picture until the next football game on Facebook. What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that.
And I tell you what, also, if the Steelers happen to win, I'll wear my Troy jersey on Sunday Night Show with Alex.
There you go. I'll take it.
You take it? All right, man. Hey, anything you want to share before we call it a show, brother?
Oh man, I just appreciate the time. It's been a long time for us to get back into doing something like this. So it's a lot of fun. It's great to be here. Hopefully the audience loved it, and I'm excited to hopefully be able to do some more stuff with you. Where
can folks check you out on Twitter?
So at C Vaissiere, we'll put it up there somewhere.
We got the spelling of your name above your head right now. It's a little weird. I've known you for 11 years, and I still can't spell your last fucking name. I got it wrong 3 times doing pre-production.
It's all right.
Nobody C Vaissiere on Twitter. Awesome, man.
Yep, at C Vaissiere on Twitter. And Instagram, I think it's all the same. I have one of those unique names, so I get like the free reign. Everybody I get to pick it. So, but no, this will be fun. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the game. Obviously, you and I will be chatting as we usually do, and giving each other hell. And in the end, just a game for us. We don't get to actually play anymore, but we'll pull out some Madden. We'll have to pull one of these out. We can live stream a game one time.
That'd be a blast, man. We'll have to do that. Bring the Kraken back for a live stream. I love it. Right on, man. Well, hey, listen, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate everything. Great conversation as usual with CV86 Corey Vaissiere. This has been the Myles B Show. Dad Bros coming tomorrow, wrestling show. Me and Alex wrap it up on Sunday. We'll see you then.